So I was really excited to launch these new designs for you, and I made quite a few different prototypes, and I just have this sped up video of me applying the decals to those. So a few notes, you've seen me do some videos about this before. These are really simple to do. There's just a couple things to keep in mind. So I've got a little pan of water there. I use distilled water just because, you know, I don't want to have any, contaminants like minerals in the water, but I'm sure you could just use tap just as easily. I have pre-fired my blanks. I did full fuses on those. I like to use the underside of the glass where it was touching the shelf. It's nice and flat, and there's an extra layer of clear then between the color and the decal, which I just think gives it a cool effect. So you slide those decals right off. You have to remember to take the tissue paper off. If the tissue paper gets stuck on there, just use a little bit of white vinegar in your finger and you can kind of get that tissue paper off, but don't forget to take the tissue off before you soak the decal. Soak it, slide it on, make sure that you get any bubbles out, and in this case my decals were a little bit bigger than my glass, so you can just press the edges of the decal around the sides and it'll fire on there just fine. So I'll talk a little bit more about that now. All right, so as I look at these, I think I did a pretty darn good job of getting the bubbles out. So what you saw me doing is my blanks are a little too big for the decals, or excuse me, the decals were a little too big for the blanks. So you saw that I was just you know, kind of smoothing the edge over. I call it burnishing it on. Those are from my stained glass days, but I just kind of burnish the edges around, and there's going to be a little bit, I don't know if you can see, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a wrinkling effect that happens, but all that kind of burns off and it's not a big deal in the end. So what I'm looking for after they've dried is just to make sure that there aren't any bubbles that appear in the black area. And so let's see if I can get this. Oh, feels impossible as I'm looking at the camera and trying to get the glare. There's a tiny, can you see it? There's a tiny bubble right there, and it's right on the black. And so what would happen is, if I fired this just like it is, that bubble will disrupt the black line and leave a little bit of a round mark, just a little pock mark. So the way to go about fixing that is to try to just push it out if you can. If the bubble's just not moving, now what I was just trying to do there was push it into the clear area, because if it's in the clear, it's fine. I really don't care. It's pretty set there. So what I'm gonna do is just very carefully, with the very tip of an X-Acto knife, I'm just going to try to pop that and then press it down with my finger. And now you can barely see it anymore. You probably can't see that on camera, but that was enough to kind of take care of it. And so that's what I'm doing now, is just looking across my pieces. Let's see if I can find another one. Hang on just a moment. I honestly did a pretty darn good job getting rid of bubbles. There's a bubble that's right here. There you go. Can you see? So you can see how it's really flat. This accidentally sat on the edge of my kiln paper. I hate that. But you can see how this is all flat kind of across here, but there's a little bubble there. Now it's mostly in the clear, but it's a little bit in the black. So I'm trying to push it. It doesn't really push out. So in the clear portion, I'm going to try not to disrupt the black. Just going to, I think, there we go. Try to pop that a little bit, make a little spot for air to escape, run my finger over it, and now it's flat again. So no issues there. Now a couple of notes. You want to make sure that when you're picking these up and handling them, that you're keeping the edges flat, and that they're not, you're not accidentally pulling that up. Let's see if there's any others. Okay, here's one where you can see, can you see that? There is a bubble right there. Can you see that bubble? But it's in the clear area. It's not on any of the black ink. It's actually a pretty sizable bubble. You might be able to see it moving there. I could just leave that alone, honestly. It doesn't bother me, but just for the purpose, because it's not in the black, so it's not going to disrupt the pattern at all. And this yellow, remember, just fires out clear. For the purposes of this, I'm going to go ahead and pop it and just smooth it flat. Here's one where it's right on the edge of the black. It's not moving, so I'm gonna the bubble's almost kind of split in half by black and clear. So I just poked it in the clear spot and smoothed it back over, and now that'll fire nicely. So that's what you want to do on all of your decals after they've dried. Just kind of check them are mostly dry. Maybe if it's kind of 75% dry, just kind of check it over. So you can see, you know, nice, flat, or any bubbles in that. That's what you're looking for. That's what you're going for. Now, a note on my blanks. So as I built these and then I did a full fuse on this, this is actually the top. This is where the Murini is, and I built it on a 3mm clear base. When I put my decals on, I actually flipped them, and I put the decal on the kiln shelf side for two reasons. One, it's super flat, but two, I actually like the depth that the clear gives. You can do it either way. You can put it on that side. I just chose to do mine on what would be the back or the kiln side. I'm noticing a tiny bubble here, so I'm just gonna very carefully pop that guy. So there you go. I think you get the concept of it.